What if we're not alone? What if the first clue is hurtling through the solar system right now? What if that evidence has been staring at us in the face, but we have been dismissing it as just another cosmic coincidence? I'm not describing the opening scene of a sci fi movie. I'm talking about a real scientific debate, one sparked by mysterious visitor from interstellar space. Yes, it's a story about an object named 3I Atlas, only the third interstellar object that we have ever seen. And that, at the heart of all, is one Howard University's top astronomer, Dr. Avi Loeb, a man who has put his entire career on the line to ask a question most of his colleagues will only whisper. Are we being watched? Okay, now I know the title is a little provocative, so let's get one thing straight. Dr. Loeb hasn't confirmed our worst fears in a way a movie might.
On Earth. If it's a natural object, there is nothing to worry about. Don't lose any sleep for now until we figure out, that it might be technological.
Now, he has done something much more interesting. He has taken a series of baffling observations that just don't add up and applied rigorous scientific analysis to them. Now, he's suggesting a possibility that, if turns out to be true, would change absolutely everything. His argument is actually quite simple. When you see an object from another star system behaving in ways that defy our understanding of nature, you have to at least consider the possibility that it isn't natural at all. Now, this is the detective story of 3I Atlas, a cosmic puzzle where the pieces just don't seem to fit. On one side, you have the mainstream scientific community with one interpretation of evidence. On the other side, you have Dr. Loeb and few others suggesting something far more extraordinary. They're arguing that a string of anomalies, from its bizarre orbit to its unexplained acceleration and strange chemical makeup, aren't just a bunch of unrelated coincidences, clues that could be pointing to an unnerving conclusion that 3I Atlas isn't a comet at all, but a piece of extraterrestrial technology. So let's open the case file, look at the evidence, and you can decide it for yourself. Now, before we get into cosmic weirdness, you have to understand who is making these claims. This is Dr. Abraham Avi Loeb. And we're not talking about some fringe theorist in a basement here. Avi Loeb is a professor of science at Howard University and was the longest serving chair of its astronomy department. He is also the head of Galileo Project, a serious, well-funded scientific search of evidence for extraterrestrial technology. And that's what makes it so disruptive. He is a true insider. He's challenging the establishment from within. Now, Dr. Loeb insists that he's just following scientific method, that we have to follow the evidence no matter where it leads, even if the destination is uncomfortable.
It's the fun of doing science, that we should be guided by data. So science, the foundation of science is the curiosity, the humility to learn. It's a learning experience, work in progress.
He says that it's about keeping our childhood curiosity and not pretending to be an adult in the room who know the answer in advance. Now, this isn't the first time he has stirred the pot. You might remember his name from 2017 and the mystery of Oumuamua, our very first interstellar visitor. Oumuamua was strange, and it was shaped like a cigar or a pancake, and it sped up as it left our solar system for no visible reason. There was no cometary tail to explain the push. Now, Loeb suggested it could be a solar sail. Most scientists eventually dismissed the idea, settling on explanation that it was just a natural object, maybe a nitrogen iceberg whose outgassing was just too faint for us to see. But then came 3I Atlas. Discovered on July 1st, 2025, it was immediately clear that this was different. It was the third interstellar object we have ever seen, following Oumuamua and much more normal-looking comet called 2I Borisov. But 3I Atlas wasn't like either of them. The path was stranger, and its behavior was even more baffling. For Dr. Loeb, the second highly unusual object appearing just few years after the first was huge red flag. You know what they say in science? One anomaly can be fluke, but two could be a pattern. So it's the pattern of strangeness that has led Dr. Loeb to put his reputation on the line. He argues that scientific community suffers a kind of cosmic arrogance, too quick to shoot down the possibility of alien tech. After all, we send our probes, like the Voyager spacecraft, out into the cosmos. Why would we assume that we are the only ones to ever do so? What he's saying is that he has found a collection of clues. When you put them all together, build a powerful circumstantial case. He is playing the role of interstellar detective, and he thinks that he has found something the rest of the world is overlooking. Now let's examine those clues. The first clue that something was deeply strange about 3i Atlas is its path. Something coming from the void between the stars should arrive on a completely random trajectory. The universe is vast in three-dimensional space, so an object thrown from another star should reflect that randomness, but 3i Atlas doesn't. Its orbit is suspicious. Now, here is the main oddity. Think of our solar system as a flat disk where all the planets orbit the sun. Now, this is called the elliptic plane. An interstellar visitor should have no reason to follow this path. It could come from above, from below, or at any wild angle. And yet, 3i Atlas is traveling almost perfectly flat with our solar system, inclined by only about 5 degrees. The odds of a random interstellar object doing that are just 1 in 500. Now, that's not impossible, but it's rare enough to make you look twice. Mainstream astronomers say, hold on, we have seen only 3 of these things, the interstellar objects. What looks rare might just be a statistical fluke. But for Loeb, it's not just low probability, it's what an orbit like this would be perfect for. An orbit that's nearly flat with its elliptic is the most efficient way for a probe to survey a planetary system. It allows for close passes to multiple planets with minimal energy. And guess what 3i Atlas is doing? Its trajectory brings it unusually close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. Loeb even co-authored a paper suggesting that these flybys could be perfect for a probe to discreetly deploy smaller sensors near these planets. Then there's the timing. Its closest approach to Sun, called perihelion, happened on October 29, 2025. That's the exact moment the object was on the opposite side of the Sun from us, totally hidden from our view. Loeb and his co-authors find this timing very convenient. Was it hiding? Hiding behind a sun would be the perfect moment for a probe to make a major engine burn or course correction without anyone on Earth seeing it happen. Of course, the mainstream explanation is that this is all a series of cosmic coincidences. The orbit is a fluke. The flybys are consequences of that fluke. And hiding behind the sun was just bad luck for astronomers. But for Dr. Loeb, when coincidence starts piling up this high, you have to start questioning if they are coincidences at all. And this strange path was just the beginning, the unexplained push. In space, gravity is the king. Everything moves along the predictable path. So when an object deviates from that path, where it gets a little push that gravity can't explain, astronomers really pay attention. It's called non-gravitational acceleration, and 3i Atlas has it. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory itself reported that the object was speeding up just slightly in a way that the gravity of the sun and the planets couldn't account for. For something to change its speed, something has to be pushing it. The billion-dollar question is, what's pushing 3i Atlas? The standard answer for a comet is outgassing. As it gets closer to the sun, its ice heats up and shoots out jets, creating a natural rocket effect. And that gives it a gentle push. Mainstream scientists believe this is exactly what's happening. It's just an active comet. But this is where Dr. Loeb finds a massive contradiction. He calculated that to get the acceleration we see, 3i Atlas would have to be losing a huge amount of its mass, at least 13%. An object losing that much material shouldn't just be active. It should be spectacular with a massive, brilliant tail of gas and dust. And yet, the picture of 3i Atlas has been confusing. An image from November 5th, 2025, after it passed the sun, was specially revealing. Dr. Loeb pointed out that despite the insane amount of outgassing needed to explain its speed boost, no such tail is visible in the new images. Do you see the problem here? A huge contradiction. The object is accelerating like a powerful comet, but it doesn't look like one. This sounds eerily familiar, doesn't it? It's the Oumuamua mystery all over again, an unexplained push with no visible tail. So, with 3i Atlas, are we looking at another dark comet or is something else causing that push? Now, Dr. Loeb wants us to consider the alternative. What if the push isn't some melting ice, but from an engine? A radical thought, but it solves the problem perfectly. An engine could provide the thrust without creating huge dusty tail. It could also explain object sideways push, which is harder to account for simple outgassing. Now, as if it wasn't enough, the object is also seen changing the color, at one point turning to a distinct blue. While this could be from the ionized carbon monoxide, Loeb notes that blue color could also be consistent with a hot engine. Mainstream view remains firm. It's just natural outgassing from a weird comet. But for Loeb, it's moving as if it has propulsion system. And when you find out what it's made of, the mystery gets even deeper. Every object in space leaves a chemical fingerprint. By analyzing its light, scientists can tell us what it's made of. So, when the James Webb Space Telescope and the Very Large Telescope turned towards 3i Atlas, the fingerprint they found was unlike anything that they have ever seen. The first surprise was massive amount of carbon monoxide. Data revealed a cloud around the object dominated by CO2, about 16 times more than you would find a typical comet from our solar system. Our comets are dirty snowballs full of water ice. 3i Atlas is more like a dirty dry ice ball. But this is strange. But okay, maybe it's just came from a very different type of solar system. But then they found something that made everyone pause. Deep inside the object's coma, the Very Large Telescope detected atomic nickel vapor. Now here's the weird part. They found the nickel with very little corresponding iron. Now you may ask, why is that so astonishing? Every asteroid, meteoroid, comet we have ever studied, nickel and iron are cosmic partners, forged together in the hearts of the star. To find one without the other in a natural object is almost unheard of. This is where Loeb's hypothesis gets really compelling. So, where do we find refined nickel without much of iron here on Earth? Not in nature. We find it in industrial alloys, the kind used in aerospace manufacturing. As Dr. Loeb pointed out, finding a chemical signature associated with industrial manufacturing on an object from another star system is, to put mildly, a significant clue. Of course, the scientific community immediately went looking for a natural explanation. One idea is that nickel could have been locked in a strange molecule called nickel tetracarbonyl, which then broke apart in sunlight, releasing the nickel without needing the high heat that would also have released the iron. So we have two competing ideas. The mainstream view says 3i Atlas is just very unusual but natural comet that's giving us peek into how different other star systems can be. But Dr. Loeb is asking us to look at the clues differently. What if the refined nickel isn't some exotic chemistry, but from a manufactured alloy? When you combine that with the improbable orbit and the unexplained push, a new picture starts to form. Not of a dirty ice ball or dirty dry ice ball, but of something that was built. The extraordinary claims requires extraordinary evidence. And this is the shield that mainstream astronomical community raises against Dr. Loeb's hypothesis. They agree that the anomalies surrounding 3i Atlas are puzzling, but they insist that there is no smoking gun, there is no single piece of evidence that provokes it's anything but a natural object. For every strange clue, they argue, there is a plausible, natural explanation. So let's assemble the official case for a natural origin. The consensus is that 3i Atlas is an interstellar comet, period. Its rare trajectory is statistical fluke in a very small sample size. The convenient planetary flybys are just a lucky consequences of that path. What about that mysterious push? They chalked it up to the outgassing of its all carbon dioxide and the lack of big dusty tail. Maybe the material it's shading isn't very dusty, or maybe it's our viewing angle. And for the alien chemistry, The scientists see this as an exciting discovery, a glimpse into the sheer diversity of other solar systems. The nickel could be explained by that unusual nickel tetracarbonide idea. NASA and the European Agency have been clear. 3i Atlas is fascinating, but it poses no threat. There is no evidence to support that it has an artificial origin. This is the great divide. On one side, you have majority of scientists who see a weird but natural object that will help rewrite our textbook and comets. On the other side, you have Dr. Loeb, who sees a pattern of anomalies that, when taken together, point to something else entirely. He argues that clinging to a familiar explanation in the face of so many oddities isn't being cautious. It's the failure of imagination. He even brings up thought experiments from science fictions like The Dark Forest, where the civilization stays silent to avoid predators, to frame why a probe might be designed to be so stealthy. It's a fundamental clash of two scientific philosophies. So, where does this all leave us? The story of 3i Atlas is far from over. As we speak, the object is heading back towards the interstellar void, but it's going to make its closest approach to Earth around December 19th, 2025, giving our best telescopes one last and great look. This is what Dr. Loeb calls the acid test. The key question comes down to the outgassing. If its acceleration was really caused by its outgassing 13% of its mass, there has to be a massive cloud of gas around it. If our telescopes see that cloud in December, it would be a huge win for a natural comet theory. But, as Dr. Loeb says, if we don't see a dense gas, then cometary evaporation can't be the answer. And in that case, he argues, it might constitute a technological signature of a propulsion system. We're living in a fascinating crossroad. Is 3i Atlas a natural object so strange that it'll force us to rethink everything we know of about comets? Or is Avi Loeb a modern day Galileo forcing us to reconsider our place in the cosmos? The beauty of science is that eventually the data will give us the answer, and that answer may be coming very soon. So, what's your theory? Do you think that the anomalies point to a natural, bizarre phenomenon, or could this be the moment we finally learn that we are not alone? Thanks for watching.